Here's another one for the Rogues Gallery of piss poor aerial installs. I wonder what they were trying to achieve there. Anyway, what we have here is a CB antenna, and I couldn't think of a worse CB antenna install myself. We have no ground plane here, none whatsoever. This is fresh air. We've got adjacent metalwork right next to the antenna. In fact, it's worse than that still. What they've done is they've put a P-clip here and pulled this antenna hard over onto the gutter that surrounds the cab of this truck. Crazy. I don't understand it. I really don't. And then these guys come in and go, my CB doesn't have much range. I look at these kind of installs and go, and what do you expect? This antenna here should be mounted on top of the ground plane, over there, on top of the roof. If you did that, you'd get the coverage you require, and the aerial would work properly. Anyway, we'll go into the Rogues Gallery. This is a failure to read instructions. Okay, so I don't know who installed this aerial, but we'll just screw this off here, and we will find this. Now, I'm not sure if the camera's going to focus on this or not, but the upper portion of this coaxial center conductor has been stripped. Now, this is a CD, it's an RFI CD28 antenna, and we've got a brand new packet over here, and in every packet, so this is a CD28 4170, and in every packet we have these instructions. Now, nowhere on these instructions does it tell you that you need to strip the wire out of the center conductor. And in actual fact, the antenna fails if you do that. So here's the termination instructions, blow by blow. There's even a diagram as to what the thing looks like, and instructions how to fit this cable. Once you've formed this end, it screws up into the base, up in here. There's an internal thread inside here. Anyway, nowhere in here is an instruction to actually strip the center conductor. There's an instruction to form this so that it looks exactly like this, and there's a tuning chart here which gives the length of the stainless steel upper portion of the whip. They call it length A, and you cut length A based on this chart. Frequencies along the bottom and length is up the side. Anyway, this is essentially a failure to read instructions with this particular style of antenna, CD28. There is no need to strip the end of the center conductor. In fact, the antenna will fail if you do so. Well, we're working on a ute today, trying to track down a problem. And here's one of these aerials I don't really like too much. They're made by Pacific. They've got a fault. The fault's right here. When the antenna wiggles around as you drive along, there's a tiny little gap here that opens and closes as the antenna up above wiggles about, and that provides a tiny little gap for the water to go down. And capillary action pulls the water down into the little gap, and these antennas are designed to screw off like this. They're sold with a cap, so in theory you can put a cap on here and run it through a car wash, but you may or may not be able to see that, but that particular antenna connector is actually turning green. I'll just see if I can get it to focus. Maybe it will, maybe it won't, don't know. Right. Okay, and this fitting in here's turning green as well. Anyway, basically what happens is it's quite common for me, it's summer here at the moment, but it's quite common for me in winter time with this particular aerial to open it up to find that this here is full of water. and then effectively you've got a dead short between the centre and the screen of the coaxial termination, which is built into the base of this antenna. And a dead short across your RF is not much good at all for range. Absolutely not. You're screwed effectively, quite apart from the fact that the connector, this piece here, is gradually corroding. Give it a couple of weeks and yeah, it's all over. Anyway, just a word about these antennas. So, you know, nice sort of an antenna if you want to run your vehicle through the car wash, particularly if you've got the little plastic hat. But this particular point here, this tiny little gap there, opens and closes as the antenna wiggles. That lets the water in. So if you've got one of these, put a bit of silicone around here, or put something around there to try and seal that. We're on the roof of a truck today. The reason why we're looking at this antenna is we've got a 26 meg CB actually attached to this antenna today, which probably explains why the CB has short range. Well, this antenna is a CD2195 antenna. So that's a CD2195, it's a cellular antenna, and my comment is that in this location here, this aerial installation's quite inappropriate. What they've, quite aside from the fact that we're feeding a 26 meg CB into it, this antenna's a ground independent antenna. There'll be a nut underneath here, and they've obviously bolted it through the roof. But there's no seal, largely because these antennas are not designed for this purpose. So in an effort to try and keep the water out, they put a large poultice of silicon around here, which of course eventually gives up the ghost. It then leaks and the driver gets a shower. So there we go, there's another inappropriate antenna installed. This wobbles around. I can actually even see that there's a gap in the silicon. Don't know quite what we're going to do about that at the moment. Probably talk to the owner of the truck. Anyway, just thought I'd highlight another inappropriate antenna install. What have we got here? Yeah, we got a aerial which is 600 mils high. This is a GME radio in this truck, and this is Pacific aerial components. So we've got an overlength aerial and no ground plane. So, well, you know, I'd classify that as a piss poor install. You know, if this base was mounted in the middle of the roof of that box over there, and the aerial was trimmed correctly to 500 millimeters, this would be fairly ideal. But in this situation, it's basically a crock of shit. The performance from that aerial will be probably fairly terrible. Anyway, moving right along. Well, here's another terrible install. It's a ground plane style aerial, and as you can see, it's not mounted on a ground plane. Out here on this side we've got fresh air. There's no ground plane on the other side, and there's a sheet of metal running up this side that runs in parallel to the quarter wave part of that antenna. Remember, the lower section, this piece here, is a quarter wave, and as such should be mounted above a ground plane. That thing's the phase altering coil, and the upper section is the upper radiator that alters the aerial pattern. We've discussed this aerial before in the past. Anyway, I'd consider that installation to be a load of rubbish. You'd be much better off to actually use the ground plane on the roof of this van and put on there a standard quarter wave.